These are the best days of our lives. Let's raise your glasses high. This one's for you tonight.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 17 of the SUR Files. Ladies and gentlemen, that's correct. It's July 10th, 2026. It's usually the one and only brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez, ready to give you another fun episode as we take a trip around the valley. Yes, we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But first and foremost, I want to say thank you all for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot to me. We're slowly getting up in our subscriber base. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. So if you're on YouTube, you can check us out on YouTube if you're watching or listening to this right now. I usually do a live stream, kind of like a premiere thing. You know how it works on YouTube. I put the video live once we get it uploaded and everything. I think down the road we'll start using video elements and stuff like that. But I got a lot going on, so I don't have time to do StreamYard and all that other jazz. But anyways, I thank you for the support, especially on YouTube, but also on TikTok. Our page has been blowing up, especially these last 2 weeks. Right now, we're very close to hitting our mark that we need to start making money on TikTok, which is 10,000 followers. Right now, we are currently at, let's pull this up here on TikTok as I'm doing this live. Right now, we're currently at 9,384 followers, and we're close to getting to the 1 million likes department, which is insane. I started this page back in November, and it's just wild, man. So we got a lot to discuss today. And this is going to be a very in-depth, cathartic conversation that I'm going to have with you guys today, because this was a very cathartic week in the Valley. Before we get into that, I had to address something because I just need to get this off my chest. It's been on my mind for the last hour. So normally, for those who don't know, when I record the podcast on Friday, I usually listen to Scheana's podcast, Shenanigans, beforehand. This gets me going in the morning, you know, just like, you know, how we have our routines and stuff like that when we wake up in the morning. So I wake up Fridays and I listen to Scheana's podcast, not only if it's something I could bring to the table for the podcast itself, but also if there's something interesting that she says on there that I can share on the TikTok page. I'm going to do it. And the thing with the TikTok page, and I think the reason why it's blowing up the way it is that I'm not doing it with an agenda to say. At the same time, I do have to hold certain cast members accountable for the nonsense that comes out of their mouth in double standards. And as watching the entire franchise of Vanderpump Rules, and now 3 seasons into the Valley, like, I have a good feel of how this cast is and how they go about things. And just like with my background with professional wrestling, you can sniff out bullshit a mile away. And look, I don't want to come on here and just completely shit on Scheana the entire time, but you know, I think a lot of us who are not living on the rock understand what's going on with this whole situation with Tom Sandoval and Victoria Robinson. They talked about it today on the podcast with her and Kiki Monet. And look, I always have to have this disclosure here, because seemingly, whether it's the TikTok page or just in general, I have to remind people that I don't condone bad behavior by men. Even though that I'm a straight guy and I'm a fan of Tom Sandoval and I could give Danny Bucco grace and et cetera, and I miss Jax Taylor on my TV, I have never condoned the actions that they have done on these shows. I want to make that clear. 2 things can be true. I'm watching a TV show. I don't know these people personally on a personal level. They've never done anything to me personally outside of me watching it from a fan's point of view. I could condone, you know, giving people grace and second chances and stuff like that, enjoying the drama that they do bring to these shows. I mean, it is reality TV after all. I mean, we're not talking about politics and God knows what else. But my point is, at the end of the day, I'm past Sandoval. I'm over this Danny drinking situation. I'm ready for Jax to come back to the Valley. And it gets to the point when it comes to double standards and the hypocrisy that I see for the OG cast, especially those that have podcasts and they still try to rehash their own narratives from what happened on the show over the years. And what hasn't been addressed enough in this whole situation. So apparently during the 4th of July, Lance Bass had a party and Tom Sandoval was there. And one of Scheana's friends, Bianca, was there. I guess Kiki and Scheana saw Sandoval there because they were checking out his Instagram stories. And then, she's talking shit about the guy the entire time and, making this cringy marks and, like doing the side eye, the whole deal with Scheana's cadence when she's talking and everything. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, what are we doing here? Because it's like we get the Scheana that we hear from the podcast that tries to save face and she's trying to rekindle her friendship with Ariana, right? And you listen to the podcast. You would think that Scheana still hates Tom Sandoval's guts. And it's all stems back from this lawsuit that wasn't even going to be a lawsuit towards Ariana, directions from Tom. It was a mistake from his lawyers. Ever since then, Scheana's been on this campaign to smear Sandoval and on any podcast or anything that she can, talk shit about him on the book. And what's really interesting about all of this is that, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but at the end of the day, a spade needs to be called out here. Scheana puts a front on when it comes to Sandoval because every time I see gatherings on social media, like Gay Pride at Tom, where I see Brock putting his arm over Sandoval's shoulders, they seem to be having a good time. They're still friends. Brock, I think, still follows Sandoval on Instagram. I don't know. Like, it's interesting because she would also go on to say that, Brock tells Scheana this about Sandoval and whatever. And look, if Scheana is indifferent towards Sandoval and they're not friends anymore, why are you still talking about him? Not only that, but especially her and Brock, because it's like they'll go on the front and shit talk about the guy behind his back and on podcasts, but they'll be kumbaya with them when they're in the same vicinity with each other. I just don't get it. And not only that, the worst part of it all is that they deflected their anger towards him at during the whole height of Scandal in season 11 of Vanderpump Rules, while at the same time these two were hiding an affair from the entire fucking cast. So Brock doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to Sandoval or how you feel about him and his cheating ways and blah 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 blah. Again, I don't condone his actions. I don't condone what he did to Ariana. I wrote a fucking book about it. Two things can be true. The man made a mistake and he fucked up. And it's time for people to heal and move on and give each other grace. Even both Tom and Rachel. I'm more than happy to see Rachel doing what she's doing now with the sound bath. She's killing it right now. And then you still see snarky comments from Scheana towards Raquel's direction. Even though Rachel dropped the restraining order, why are you two are still holding on to as if it's season 10 of Vanderpump Rules, and like you are channeling your anger towards Sandoval, even though you Scheana decided to take Brock back, even though he stepped out of your marriage and cheated on you before summer came around. But you want to hit that for the entire cast because, season 11 was about Ariana. So let me talk shit about Sandoval the whole time and add on to it what the entire world's already talking shit about him. But let me hide the fact that my husband is also a piece of shit. And, that's not going to be an issue either. I have to call out double standards. I have to. Even they said in the podcast today, like, he was being nice to their friend Bianca or whatever, and then the commentary is like, Sandoval's doing the Sandoval thing. Look at me, I'm a bartender. He's just trying to have a good time, and you're still mocking him and his personality. Like, I don't get it, man. And this is not me trying to be a Tom apologist or whatever. I just hate double standards, and really bothers me the fact that Scheana and Brock hid that information from the cast, because you guys remember that whole Lake Tahoe event, and Brock was trying to be holier and down and talking down to Sandoval, and they're taking those rides, those zip line rides and whatever, and he's trying to make Sandoval feel like a piece of shit. Yet at the same time, you just revealed to Scheana that you had an affair with her, an affair. You cheated on your wife, the mother of your child, and you're going to come in here and shit talk Sandoval while everybody else is doing it, as if you're any better. No wonder why they didn't decide to pop up on TV this season. It's just really annoying. I know what's going on with Tom and Victoria is not great, and obviously that looked like Toxic City USA. And I get it. Sandoval's a flawed human being, and he's trying to learn from mistakes. People, it's just really annoying, because I want the best for the dude. Obviously, he doesn't make it easy to be a fan of his. I could be honest about that, but at the same time, it's just really annoying where Scheana will put a front on how she wants to rekindle her friendship with the guy. Yes, she still talks shit about him on the podcast any chance that she gets. I just don't get it. So sorry for the rant, but I need to get that off my chest. Anyways, we got a lot to discuss this week when it comes to the Valley. This is a longer edition of the Valley. I think it was an hour and 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, this past Wednesday night. So we're going to get into episode 15 of the Valley, called It's My Birthday. I'll cry if I want to. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, get ready, because it's time to recap season 3 of the Valley. Welcome back, everybody, to the SUR Files. Time to talk about the Valley. Yes, Valley Season 3, Episode 15, dubbed It's My Birthday. I'll cry if I want to. This is definitely Saucy Schroeder coded here. Definitely big-time Saucy Schroeder references with that title for this week's episode. As always, as I do these reviews of the Valley here on the SUR Files, I'd love to hear from you guys, so please let me know in the comment section down below. How did you guys feel about this week's episode of the Valley, especially with the fact this was the last episode in their Mexico trip, the cast trip in Mexico, the trio of birthdays. I've never seen a succession of 3 shitty birthday parties in consecutive days, but that's reality television for you. Anyways, we got a lot to discuss, so don't worry. As we usually do in the podcast, you're going to hear from the cast itself. I do share audio for the Valley after show that they share on the Bravo YouTube channel. You'll be listening to that in a little bit, but this is going to be a little bit more of a ranty episode. I am going to apologize in advance. I am in a good mood. I am actually in good spirits. I'm glad to be back home in Chicago, but this episode definitely set me off. And I knew this was coming, especially this was teased in the mid-season trailer. This big upcoming confrontation with Lala and Danny and Nia. We'll get to that when we get to that, but I'm just going to ask you one question, guys. Just straight up. What difference has Lala brought to this show that Jax already did the prior 2 seasons? Because I don't see much of a difference outside of the verbal abuse that he shared towards Brittany. Like, what else has Lala done on this show that Jax hasn't already did in the first 2 seasons of this show? As I've been saying this entire season, Lala's entire storyline is, okay, I have a friend named Janet. We both got our ass chewed out at 2 reunions and got royally ripped by the fans on social media. So here I am. Jax is not here to talk shit about Danny anymore, so it's my job to do so. That's her whole storyline. And I think her, of all people, is just it gets better. It keeps getting better with the hypocrisy and the double standards, because it's just like they had this sneak peek for next week's episode, and they're in this like dinner setting. So it's Michelle, it's Kristen, it's Brittany, it's Zach, Jasmine, and Lala and Janet, basically. So I guess it's supposed to be some big kumbaya situation where Zach and Kristen come to this dinner with the Mean Girls Club, and Lala is again speaking up for Janet, and I'm listening to this, and at one point it's just like, why can't Janet speak for herself? Why isn't she asking these questions? Why isn't she having this one-on-one conversation with Kristen? Why does it have to be in a group setting, in a dinner setting? And why, again, has Lala had to speak for Janet and Michelle this entire season? That's why I call it the high school Mean Girls Club, because that's what it is. They all gossip each other. They all talk shit about the entire cast behind people's backs. And then Lala, because nobody loves the sound of her own voice than Lala Kent does, she's going to come out and try to poke holes at everybody's relationship, because she was in a relationship with Randall Emmett, so she has life figured out. And it's just like, I know boundaries is not a concept that's that computes in Lala's brain threshold, but at the end of the day, a lot of other people, if she was stepping up towards another married couple the way she's been towards Danny and Nia, I think it would have ended in a lot of different situations. And she, yeah, I get it. Lala has a loose tongue and she thinks that her shit don't stink, but she puts a front on. Because if Nia really wanted to, she would have knocked her out, and honestly, I would have justified it. And, you know, for her to go on the after show this week to poke fun at Nia's religion and her faith and the way she goes about defending her husband, it's just really interesting to me, because a girl that's never been married, a girl that relied on athletes and Hollywood producers to get her the financial means that she's at this point of her life, never been married in her life, thinks has everything figured out, alienates every friend group that she gets herself involved in, yet she's we're supposed to be intimidated by Lala. I'm not. I see through the bullshit. I've been saying this whole season. The Valley this season has been a rehash of last season's reunion. This is all it's been. Outside of the great addition with Lacey Nicole, who's done a fantastic job, bring some levity, some authenticity to the show, some just reverence and some fresh air that this show is desperately needed. Outside of that, I mean, the only thing that's been different, and it's exposing this season, is the fact that we've had this drama with Kristen and Luke. Both been very vulnerable with understanding the fact that they both struggled navigating, you know, the first couple months of having a kid together and their prospective relationship and postpartum and all that in between. And I give both of them a lot of credit. And, you know, Luke said something on this week's episode that I did not agree with. That was not a good thing to say towards Kristen. So, you know, the theme of this episode is supposed to be for Danny's birthday, to get on this yacht. The theme is supposed to be Miami Vice. People start poking fun at Danny because that's the thing to do this season. I don't know why people were so thrown off by that. I mean, they're all around the same age range, so I don't think Miami Vice is that old, but whatever. Anyways, they stop off at this beach, and Jesse pulls Kristen aside, and mind you, while this has been like 4 or 5 weeks of this Mexico trip, technically it's 3 or 4 days of this trip for the cast itself. So I know context goes out the window sometimes for Bravo fans, but let's just picture this, right? the first night when they came to Mexico, Kristen was having an anxiety attack over, fans trying to take pictures of her changing Kaya's diapers in the bathroom at the airport. Her and Luke get into another argument out of nowhere where Kristen's taking her anger out for postpartum on Luke, and Luke is getting frustrated, and Luke is telling Jesse, like, if this behavior continues to go on once she gets past postpartum, like, he says that there's not going to be a wedding. And Jesse's expressing his concern, and you can look at it both ways. Maybe there's, now was not the time and place to have that conversation with Kristen. But I also thought at the same time, Jesse gave some good perspective and, saying that what really broke down with his relationship with Michelle and his marriage was the fact that they lost communication with each other, and the inability caused them to drift away and, start causing resentment between each other. Now, mind you, Kristen and Luke are not married. They got engaged in last season of The Valley, and, they wanted to focus on bringing Kaya into the world, and they didn't want to rush to get married, right, and have a wedding. I think even Luke said on the after show that they wanted to enjoy the experience of being engaged. Well, you have a kid now. You're dealing with postpartum. It started to affect the relationship that you guys have as a couple, as a engaged couple. And I think Jesse's tensions came from a good place. I think just with anything else with this fan group, it's always a time and place. Like, for example, Lala, same Mexico trip. They spent the whole day going around Mexico, drinking around and everything. And then she decides to pull Danny aside while everybody's in a suite or whatever, where everybody started shouting at each other. You guys remember that big fight that happened a couple weeks ago? She puts it aside to bring up this whole thing about Danny liking things about people talking shit about Janet on social media as if she doesn't do it herself. There's a time and place for everything. And even tonight, not tonight, sorry, even on this week's episode, it's his birthday. It's his 10-year anniversary with his wife. And you want to choose to go after the guy and steal the famous character and try to flex your muscles towards his wife as if you're going to try to bully her. Like, there's a time and place for everything. And that's another thing that this friend group struggles with. It's the high school mentality where they all talk shit behind each other. And when they decide to have a real conversation about what's being said, they can't have a one-on-one direct conversation. There always has to be somebody on the side while the two people are talking. That doesn't solve anything. There's no conflict resolution with this group, as Zach said. What's unfortunate with this is that after Jesse told Kristen this, Kristen was very, you could tell it affected her mood for the rest of the boat ride. And she comes up to Luke while he's laid down with Schwartz. Schwartz was just completely hungover and just completely out of it this episode. I mean, you could tell from last week's episode when they were done with the bar or whatever, and he was sleeping on the party bus on the way back to their hotel. He was out of it. And he's like, man, I'm sorry for being a sloppy drunk, and he's just completely hangover. Anyway, so they're laying next to each other, and Kristen tells Tom, if you go to another place, I went to talk to Luke, and then she brings up the fact, oh, you don't want to get married now, and Luke, and again, this goes back to context. They just had an argument 2 days ago, and here we are. They're about to have another argument. And Luke gets defensive. And look, this is real life. We all could come on here and say people say things at the wrong time, and we're not perfect. I'm not a perfect human being. I've said things at the wrong time when I didn't need to. We're all human, and we all get defensive at times when things start bubbling up under the surface, right? And say things that we don't mean at a certain time. And this is what happened. They had a bad argument. They reconciled the next day. Here we are, day 3. And here we are about to have another deep conversation because she's upset by what Jesse told her, and I can understand Luke's frustration towards Jesse being like, "Hey, man, this is supposed to be between us, you know, like, you know, you don't have to bring this up to Kristen." But here we are. They had this conversation, and Luke is like, "Yeah, like if we were gonna get married tomorrow, I would not do it." And he's like, "We need to work on things." So it's been an ongoing storyline this whole season. It's one that I enjoyed because I'm learning a lot from it from just a real life standpoint, and even if for a guy that like myself that's not in a relationship, I'm learning like what to do and what not to do. And I think Kristen and Luke are a good couple. I think they're good for each other. They have a beautiful daughter, and I like Luke. Kristen's a legend. I'm gonna give her some props right now because in the midst of all this arguing with Danny and Nia, to the side we had things bubble up with the stuff with Brittany and Janet. Ratting out Kristen out to the Mean Girls Club when they came back from shopping. And we had this conversation with Zach and Nia. And then out comes Brittany coming in. And here comes everybody chiming in with each other about Kristen throwing Brittany, Jasmine, and Zach under the bus about their volume of drinking. Did she say anything wrong? No. She did it. So Brittany, because this is another thing, and I haven't heard anybody say this on the review shows of the Valley this season, or on TikTok, or even on YouTube. I think another thing that was going on here is that I think that a lot of the girls, especially the Mean Girls Club, wanted to like band together, kind of like they did for season 11 of Vanderpump Rules. So we had Jax out the picture. We're going to huddle each other and now go after Danny and have this, girl power movement, forcing Jesse's hand with the divorce with Michelle, continuing issues with Danny, et cetera, et cetera. We all know what's been going on this season. I kind of think that's the vibe from the beginning, because even to the point where Brittany is siding with Janet and Michelle and Lala over Kristen and Zach, who have been there for her since day one, it's just kind of odd to me. Like Brittany has wanted her Ariana Maddox moment this season. This is it. Everything is me, 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 me. And Kristen didn't say anything that she wanted to say to Brittany's face. And even in last week's episode where they're arguing and Jasmine's questioned the validity of Nia and Kristen's friendship. And, Brittany's getting jealous over the fact that Kristen's getting closer to Nia than she is with her. And it's just like, are we in high school? Like, grow the fuck up. Like... especially for Michelle and Janet, especially if you need Lala to do your dirty work because you can't speak up for yourself, that's just really telling of who you are. And then it's just like the double standards is going on, so they're getting this argument, and Chris is like, Janet, you're something else, man. You're really gonna try to pit me against Brittany because you took what I said out of context. And, Jan's like, well, you shouldn't be talking shit behind your friends. And then Chris is mock Jan. You should be talking shit about your friends. Talking shit and truth are two different things. I highly doubt that Kristen has gone on this season to be like, you know what? I'm going to make fun of Brittany while she's at a low point in her life, while she's trying to heal for herself from a 10-year mentally abusive relationship. Like, come on. Kristen is a really good person, and she loves Brittany probably more than anybody in that cast. So for Jan to even say that Kristen's throwing her under the bus by pointing out a fact is just typical of Janet. And this is the sucky part about all this, because Janet, and I teased this on last week's episode, I knew something was off with Janet to the point where she was breaking down crying and saying that, oh, if I continue on talking about the standing issue, it's going to bring up other things. So she revealed this week on the show that she unfortunately had a situation with sexual assault when she was 12 years old. And I hate hearing that. I hate hearing that because nobody in this life, male or female, deserves to deal with that type of stuff. Nobody deserves to deal with that. And I have a lot of empathy for Janet, her feeling like she's been excluded from the group and, she's dealt with a lot of the issues with the fans and stuff like that. And it's very unfortunate to see. I'll say that for sure. Another thing is just that, like, it's, she's breaking down crying, and I feel bad for her. I really did. I want to read Janet's statement about the story that she shared because I think it's fair, and we'll continue on after this. But she says here, I want to be really transparent because today it really hit me that what I shared is going to be out in the world to be judged, talked about, and picked apart. Something I spent my childhood trying to escape and run away from is now out there on millions of screens to be digested, and I fear that the thing I desperately ran away from and didn't want to attach me to will now follow me forever everywhere I go. I didn't expect it to hit me so hard. I had months to prepare knowing this was going to come out, and decades before that working through the trauma, but nothing can really prepare you for the date arriving. I plan on talking to family and friends that I never told about this before it aired, and I failed. Many people I know, love, and trust will hear my story for the first time on reality television shows instead of directly from me. And I'm sorry to those who had to hear it this way. Making my plan round of calls and telling people in person proved more than I can handle. I would take a beautiful day and darken it with my trauma. So today it really hit me that this is real, and as much as I wish I could stuff the words back in my mouth and I deal with the pain that keeping it caused me since I was 12 years old, what's done is done. Now my story is yours, and the control freak inside of me is losing it, thinking of what you will do with my story and how it will be shared and talked about, how I will be viewed after everyone I know and many strangers will handle it. I spent today not being able to move, quietly crying when my son was distracted, sick to my stomach, and having to ask Jason to pick up my slack and step away from work to do the daily tasks I usually do without thinking. To my fellow survivors, a word I am still uncomfortable using for myself, please know that on your hardest days, you are not alone, and I can't help but to think how unfortunate that is. That so many people shared this pain and experience, that others have days like today where they feel paralyzed and debilitating pain because of another person's violating actions. I never imagined this would stick with me for so long, but 24 years later, here I am still feeling like the little girl I was when this happened, unable to fully process it. Letting it leak out in the form of anger when I least expected, wishing it would just go away, but it never will, and I'm still coming to terms that what happened one night 24 years ago is still very much a part of who I am today. I dealt with what happened that night in the dark under the fluorescent lights of school years in form of name-calling, relentless bullying, and judgment. For me, that was worse than the act itself. My biggest trigger is the reaction many had to this sort of trauma, victim blaming, punishment for speaking up, taking sides, and all the ugliness it brings out of everyone involved. And I have obviously not always handled those triggers well. And to those that watched and felt the wrath of my anger, I am so sorry. I want to say thank you to my mom for doing everything she could to help me heal, Jason for his unwavering love and support, especially on my worst days, the family and friends that protected me then and now. Lala, thank you for being a safe space and supporting me at my most vulnerable moment. To our producers and crew who gave me space to tell my story and handling it with care. To anyone else that has been through something similar and still feels broken, you're not alone in that. Thank you, Jasmine and Melissa, for your forgiveness and allowing us to repair our friendship. That means the world to me. Thanks to the therapist that spent hours helping me heal and give me the tools to navigate the world. And to all of you for listening and reading this until the very end. Sincerely, Janet. So, it's sad. I nobody in life deserves to go through that, and I have empathy. Two things can be true. I don't like I said on last week's episode, I don't like how she carries herself in the high school gossip mongering way that she handles certain situations. I don't. I really don't. But I do admire and condone how vulnerable she's been this season. And I know a lot of people are not here for the Janet redemption arc, but she is a human being, and I think she does deserve grace from a certain extent. And, to deal with that in real life, obviously healing is not linear. And all I've ever said about this whole Janet situation is just that to move on, you got to forgive yourself. And I said this on last week's episode. You really, really have to forgive yourself. I wanted to read the statement because I thought it was important and deserved to be shared. I want to give, even the times where I'm critical of certain cast members, again, I don't know these people on a personal level. These are not personal attacks. I'm speaking on what I'm seeing on the television show. I want to make this perfectly clear. Again, even with the stuff I've been saying about Lala, I have nothing personal against her at all. We're just talking about television here. So it just sucks. It really sucks because it's just a lot of the stuff keeps rooting back to Janet. The root of all this drama does go back to Janet and not letting things go. But, it just sucks. It sucks. It's a shitty situation, but I do admire how vulnerable she got in this episode. And for her to even post a statement like this, it says a lot about her as a human being, and I think she deserves some grace from the cast. Not from the cast, but I think she deserves grace from the fans to a certain extent, because I don't think that Janet at a whole goes our way intently to be a mean person or anything like that. I don't see Janet in that light. It's just unfortunate that it's got to this point where people are questioning her character and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just hard. It's just really hard. So, you know what? Before we get to the real juice stuff and the whole stuff with Danny and Lala and Nia and stuff, let's hear from the cast and let's play audio from this week's The Valley After Show.
If you're going to step to me with an insult, you better do better than that.
Coming up on The Valley After Show.
And then you were like, well, if we have to talk about drinking, we should talk about Brittany.
Consider your source, though.
She's like, Kristen's not your friend.
Kristen texted Zach and filled him in on what happened in that lunch.
I texted Nia and Kristen right away and said, what'd you say?
Get out of here. Go to your husband.
Nia, this is the man you're trying to protect.
I definitely don't take criticism from someone that I wouldn't want to trade places with.
The Valley After Show starts right now.
The Nia, Danny, Lala situation was a physical representation of what it feels like often, where somebody wants to have a conversation with Danny and Nia blocks it.
What is this?
I want you to talk to me because you're going to let me
worried
finish
about
it.
what he'll say.
You're going to let me finish it.
Don't worry about what he
You're
says.
not letting me talk, so finish your sentence and let me talk. Yeah. Leave my man alone. I am very much a no BS. I don't have time for you if you're wasting my time on stupid stuff kind of person. And Daniel, after he feels like he's been attacked over and over and over again, at a certain point, he hits his wall. And he's like, I'm going to push back. So we are on two completely different pages, maybe different books at this point of the night. Yeah. And I'm like, why are you even entertaining Lala attacking and antagonizing you?
Can you ignore her? Hey,
I'm going to ignore her.
Listen to me and ignore her, my love. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Focus on your win.
I'm not antagonizing anything.
I'm asking you a
Stop.
question because I've done it.
Walk away with me, please.
I've taken accountability.
I'm like, this, you guys constantly have talked about Janet walking away. I have yet to have a conversation with Danny that he's not pulled away by his wife. So I approach the bar and, Nia turns into an offensive lineman.
If Lala went right, Nia went right. It was like,
She was trying to look around me to like poke at him.
I don't know. I don't watch a lot of sports, but it looked like sports.
I've never seen anything like it. I don't know if I should be like scared, impressed, confused, maybe all three.
I ain't got time for that. Sorry.
And then to look behind her and see Danny standing on a stool to like get into my line of vision, eating up that his wife, who's like 4 months postpartum, is blocking me.
Nia getting involved in it. I mean, I like that. There's a lot of times where I felt like we weren't on the same team, that she didn't have my back. I was talking about every situation, and you weren't defending your husband.
I was
and that's your
giving your perspective in a calm manner.
But when she did step between me and Lala, I was like...
Yeah, you're in trouble, girl.
It takes a lot for me to get to like the end of my rope. It is his birthday. Technically, it is our 10-year wedding anniversary. And you're coming at my husband for what?
I went into that birthday beach situation unwell. I was so emotional from what Janet had shared with me.
I had a situation happen with another boy. Put his hands on me.
I'm in therapy and I'm talking to my therapist about this, specifically how it relates to being around Danny, because it is hard.
I felt physically sick, and I felt like anybody who made my friend Janet feel unseen, unheard, or take her back to that moment, I wanted to attack, but I knew I couldn't because they're not responsible for what she went through. They're strictly bringing up a trigger for her. So when I got there, I then see, you know, Danny getting into it with Michelle, the guys there talking about Michelle, and she finally has a voice. And I was just basically like, you all.
Two things can happen at the same time.
No
Welcome. Don't talk to me like that. I ain't your wife. Don't talk to me like that. You got the wrong bitch.
I am so sick of having to have big dick energy around men. And then I see Danny, and we just got into it.
I was just done.
I think she was defending her man from saying something that she probably knew wouldn't go over well and protecting her marriage from exposing the truth.
If my husband wanted to be a fool, I'd let him be a fool. It's not my problem.
I think just based off of where I grew up in Utah, I saw religion really kind of be the end-all, be-all to many marriages. I get it. She's a woman of her faith.
Yeah.
She has created a beautiful family, and any threat to that, she's going to come for you. And I don't understand that. I've never been in that situation.
See, I do understand that. That triggers me if I see, like, a man acting like that in front of a woman, especially, like, the woman taking it over and over and over, because I did that for a long time. Would I be the Nia in the situation, like, trying to, like, dodge and protect? Maybe. Or would I notice what was happening? I'm not sure. So it kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
I think she was just trying to deflect some of the tension away from Nia.
You know who needs to stop drinking? Brittany, number one, and Jack, number two. It's that.
Danny is a source of stress for Nia, and she was just trying to alleviate some pressure that Nia might be feeling. Maybe it's a mom-to-mom thing.
Nia and Kristen had babies a week apart, so I can understand literally being in the same position. I wish Kristen could have that understanding and empathy for everybody.
Yeah, we all are moms. I go back to season 1. Like, I had a difficult time. The young toddler that had crazy tantrums and was biting and this and that. And a marriage that was not going well, and you did not help the situation.
She had a boyfriend for a year. Oh, there we all said it.
I feel the same way. I mean, where Kristen and Nia are now is a month or two apart from where I was when Kristen decided to say that, like, Jason was trying to cheat on me.
The whole I take my ring off rumor was started because Kristen blurted it out when she thought that I, like, had a discussion with Danny about his drinking. Like, they're like a team on trying to protect the Bucco family by, like, anything Danny does, downplaying it and upplaying anything anybody else does.
We all know I love taking tequila shots. I've never, like, acted like I didn't, but I am with my son 24/7. I barely leave my house. I think it affected me more because go back to Big Bear and I got sick in the car because I get car sick. My husband was like, she drinks, she does this, blah, blah, blah.
Everybody knows that I did not drink. Was I drunk? No, I had 2 drinks today.
All of a sudden I'm being attacked like, you're an alcoholic, you're this, you're that, whatever. I think that's why I cried. Why am I being compared to Danny? Like, this is just going to bring the stigma back up again. And that affects me.
I get what people are trying to say, don't compare, but the judgment that is on Daniel is not from the moment 3 years ago. The judgment on Daniel is continual judgment on his behavior. If he's loud, if he's, extra extroverted and all of that. And I think what Kristen was trying to say, and what I also agree with, is like everyone in this friend group gets loud, gets extra, gets obnoxious at times.
Okay, well, we can talk about them and their drinking at a later date. Right now we're talking about Danny. And also, show me when Zach, Brittany, and Jasmine act a damn fool when they've been drinking, and we'll be calling them out. Because all I've seen them do is have a wonderful time.
Come on, guys. Did you see Zach yelling all the F's at whoever?
You, everyone.
Occasionally, like we saw with Zach, yell you to everybody, which is nothing I haven't heard or seen before. When they take it a step further, we'll sit them down and we'll have the exact same conversation.
We've all had those moments.
Seriously, and I'm like, if Danny's not your cup of tea, then just say he's not your cup of tea. That's that. It's really simple.
All right, guys, we're back. Lala just does herself no service in these after shows. She just talks out of both sides of her ass, man. Just like, you would think that you're committing World War III by questioning her relationship with Randy. You guys remember that whole dinner thing they had at season 9 and Sandoval started calling her out on her bullshit? Like, what are we doing, man? Like, what are we doing? So, you got the crux of this, right? So, they're getting ready for Danny's, birthday dinner. And, I forgot to mention this. I don't want to forget, because there was some good stuff in this episode. Like, Michelle and Lacey had a nice conversation on the boat, and, her admitting that she struggles with forgiving and forgiveness in general. And I thought that was good. Even when they got off the boat, though, and Jesse was questioning the validity of Michelle's vulnerability, and Lacey's like, first of all, don't speak to me that way. And she was saying that Michelle does deserve grace. And Lacey, I say it every week, it's a broken record, but it's true. She's fucking awesome, man. She's been a breath of fresh air, and I hope we get more of her as more seasons go by. She's awesome. She don't take shit for anybody, and the best part about her, the fact that this is reality television, she's real. So I just love how genuine and pure this woman is. She's just the best. So with that being said, the thing with Michelle is just the two-faced attitude that she carries herself with, because she'll do this, right, and have this nice conversation with Lacey, and then in her confessionals and in the after show, she pretends like she still has beef with the girl. She claimed that on the after show this week that she feels neutral towards Lacey, in that Janet chimed in, which is like, oh, they take one step forward, and then supposedly Lacey does something and they take 3 steps back. I think that's the other way around. Michelle will take a step forward and they go 3 steps back, because Michelle gets in her head and she tries to find reasons to be upset with Lacey. That's how I feel about it. I have yet to be proven wrong in this situation. Michelle acts very immature for her age. I'm just going to come out and say it. She acts very, very immature for her age. The way she handles conflict, the way she runs to Lala for gossip mongering, and she just acts very, very immature for her age. So let's go to the Lala, Danny, and Nia of it all, because we get there. Danny's excited to see everybody. And he has a conversation with Michelle, which brought up the comment that happened during last week's episode where Michelle tells Nia while they have lunch shopping that, you know, Danny makes a lot of people in the group uncomfortable. So I give Danny props for this because unlike Lala and everybody else in this fucking cast, Danny walked up straight up to Michelle to have a one-on-one conversation and be like, hey, he was calm. He was like, hey, have I made you feel uncomfortable? I'm willing to, not willing. He said, I will apologize over and over again if I made anybody feel uncomfortable or said something wrong or asked if they were good. And Michelle does the fake front like, oh, we're fine, Danny. We're fine, Danny. And then she's just saying like, oh, just hinting that he should just stop drinking in general. So she's just using the same not corporate slang, but you know where I'm getting at. She's just using the same slang that Lala and Janet and et cetera have been saying this whole season. So fine, the conversation's over. Danny has a conversation with the guys, and here comes Lala. Time and place, right? Remember what I said earlier in the episode? Time and place for everything. They're drinking. They're having a conversation. And here we are. Here comes Lala coming here to stick her nose in the situation. And Jesse just absolutely fucking cooks her. Oh my God, man. I was laughing my ass off. So it happened the same thing when, you know, Zach lashed out at everybody. You guys remember that? Where Lala's instigating the whole shit about, let's make a big issue about Danny liking social media diss comments towards Janet and other members of the cast as if they don't do that themselves. Same situation here. Okay, it's Danny's 10th birthday. It's his birthday. It's his 10-year wedding anniversary. But Lala wants to make everything about herself and Janet. And it escalates. Nia's trying to pull Danny aside. Jesse's still cooking Lala the entire time, which is fucking hilarious to me. And like, it's a time to place. And he's like, yeah, this is my boy. If you have an issue with him, you could go through me. I would have done the exact same thing that Jesse did there. I'll tell you that right now. Maybe this is just a tourist thing with us, but we sniff out bullshit a mile away and we see when the agenda's coming around. So I condone Jesse. Jesse has been the MVP of this season so far, and it's not close. Well, maybe Kristen, exception there. 1A, 1B, right? Jesse's just cooking Lala this entire argument, and then we get to the one thing we're all waiting for to see, right? This big confrontation with Lala and Nia, and Nia's, you know, staying 10 toes down, not taking any shit, as she should do as the wife of her husband and the mother of his child, the mother of his kids. She's doing anything any other mother and wife would do. And Lala's doing her little snarky, trying to act like a high school bully and talk shit along the way while backing away from Nia. So it's just like Lala's a high school bully that likes to talk shit until shit gets real. And Nia is not Rachel, and she's not going to back down to Lala's bullshit. And I applaud Nia. A lot of people were like, I see in the comments on the TikTok page this week saying, oh, this was a bad showing for Nia, and, you know, just put Nia in a bad light. Bullshit. The fact that Lala chose to take Danny and Nia's 10-year wedding anniversary to make it about herself and fucking Janet, that is putting herself in a bad light. Don't give me this excuse in the after show. Oh, I was just triggered because my friend was crying earlier in the day. Jesse said it perfectly a couple weeks ago. She's the most strategic person in this fucking cast. She was going to do it the entire time. This whole episode screamed production and self-producing from Lala this episode. We needed another fight because it's the end of the cast strip. So we'll take Kristen and Janet from last year and switched it to Lala, Danny, and Nia to have the big fight before the end of the season. So we have 3 more episodes left before this reunion. We need a big fight to end this Mexico trip. So here comes Lala. You know what? Let me sabotage Danny's birthday and his wedding anniversary because I have nothing else to talk about. I have nothing else to offer this season and, not talk about anything about my life. But, let me defend Janet because we got both royally cooked at a reunion. And that's what it was. So, all that being said, this starts getting more escalated because, Nia's getting frustrated. Danny, again, gets himself in a situation where he's starting getting mad and he's starting to take his anger out on Nia. And I said it before, the way he talks to his wife is bullshit. 2 things could be true. I could give the guy grace and understand this whole situation where the gang up mentality is getting too much. And we all have our limits. I said it on the show last week. We all have our limits where you're getting pushed to the point where you're about to crash out. I don't care who you are. If you're getting ganged up on weeks on end about your character and who you are as a human being, at a certain point, you're going to snap. I don't condone the way he's talked to his wife this season. I haven't. 2 things could be true, Nia's getting frustrated. She feels bad for Danny. She starts crying and breaking down and saying that, these people are not their friends and, Kristen's there to console her. I hope they show that scene to Jasmine and Brittany the next time they say that her and Kristen are not real friends. I hope they show that to Jasmine and Brittany at the reunion. So this goes on. Everybody goes back to their hotel rooms and Danny's by himself at the end. He has a confessional where he's crying and he feels shitty about the way his birthday's coming to the end. Like, does he want to spend a special night with his wife on their 10-year anniversary? And nothing's happening because he goes back to their hotel room. She's sleeping with Adelaide and the night's over. So Lala basically sabotaged Danny and Nia's wedding anniversary and his birthday just for herself because everything has to be about Lala. And on that note, we're going to put a ribbon and a bow on this week's edition of the SUR Files. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode and recap of the Valley. As always, if you want to check out my initial takeaways of the Valley right after the show goes off the air, I do that. I do a quick review, about 10 minutes or so, on TikTok each and every single week at SUR Files. Make sure to follow us on TikTok at SUR Files. The page is exploding, guys. We're getting really, really close to 1 million likes and 10,000 followers right around the same time, which is really cool to see. We appreciate the natural growth that's really going on with this page right now. My phone's always constantly blowing up with notifications from the TikTok app, so it means a lot to me that you guys are liking what you're seeing on the page. I'm trying to bring something different to the table when it comes to TikTok and Bravo content and stuff like that, and I appreciate you guys' support for the podcast as well. Have a wonderful weekend, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can hit me up on X if you like at the Hoots Podcast. I'm on Instagram at Joshie Lopez Music. Please do us a favor. If you're on YouTube and checking us out right now, please hit the like button and smash the subscribe button anywhere you get your podcast from. And don't forget, folks, the SUR Files comes to you free of charge every single Friday anywhere you get your podcast from. The home of the SUR Files is Odyssey Creator Lab. And you can check us out each and every single Friday. We love y'all. I'm Joshie. This has been episode 17 of the SUR Files. And remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself to the man upstairs. I'm Joshie Lopez. This has been episode 17 of the SUR Files. And we'll check y'all next week. Peace.